Hello friends, welcome to JavaEE EJB JPA tutorial. Now you are watching part 3 of the subseries Stateless Session Bean. In this video we are going to implement the bean, and in part 2 we created set of projects. We created 4 projects. One is the EAR project. Next we created bean and bean client. After that we created a web project. So here we are going to learn about stateless session bean by implementing it with a simple single function. So here are the prerequisites. So if you want to know how to set up Wildfly and Eclipse, watch this specific video, tutorial 01 on playlist 06. So this is a mandatory, and after you set up this, if required, you can watch tutorial and JSP, or if you have exposure to the basics of Servlet and JSP, then you can directly start learning the EJB. So first we will create a remote interface, and if you see here, when we are going to the Eclipse, that time you will see all the details, but here you can look at the annotation. So through UI we will create the bean, stateless session bean, and the boilerplate code generated will have the annotation called remote. So this will tell that the hello bean remote, it's an interface, right? So this is a remote interface which will be used by the EJB invoker, or whoever is consuming the EJB, they will invoke this hello bean remote. So here inside the hello bean remote we have only one interface function, and the function is say hello. Just like a hello world, we have some function called say hello, and this say hello will return a string to the caller. So we have a EJB client, and which exposes a function called say hello, and it returns a string to the caller. So we created 4 projects, right? In that there is one project, there will not be any space here. There is one project called EJB client. So first we will define a remote interface in the EJB client. Then we will go to our bean class. So bean implementation, if you see here, you have to look at the annotation for stateless. The bean name is stateless here, and mapped name is hello bean. So using this mapped name, later in this tutorial we will see how to use annotation and use this mapped name to instantiate the bean. But here in this example we will use the context object to create the bean. So mapped name is not important for this tutorial, but still you can know that stateless annotation can have a mapped name for our hello bean remote, I mean the hello bean. If you see the bean, what we are creating is hello bean, and which implements hello bean remote, right? So the annotation here, the stateless tells that this bean is a stateless session bean. Next, if you see, we are overriding the method say hello, and here we are just returning the fixed string. EJB says hello coding example, friends. So if you need to put some parameter, you can put parameter and you can append it. But here, just for learning purpose, we are defining a simple method, say hello. So now we have a remote interface, which is defined in the EJB Bean client project. Then we implemented the interface Hello Bean remote, and Hello Bean is implementing this Hello Bean remote, and this Hello Bean is defined here. So Hello Bean remote, which is here. So this is different project, right? We created 4 projects, right? In that there is a project called Hello Bean client. So when we created the Bean EJB Bean project, that time itself we asked it to create the client also. Then in that client we created this interface. We created this interface Hello Bean remote. So here we have the Hello Bean remote. Then we are having the implementation class that implements the Hello Bean remote, and that implementation class is defined inside a different project, EJB Bean project. So when client makes a call, client will access EJB Bean client. It may be a web application like JSP, Servlet, or some other EJB or other JavaEE component. So it will contact the EJB client, and the EJB client will make a call to EJB Bean. So if the client, I mean the client in the sense the EJB Bean client. Now this one is the client interface or the project for the client access. So the client will make a call to say hello. Say hello is defined in the remote interface, right? Hello Bean remote, which is defined here in the EJB Bean client project. So it will make a call to this EJB Bean client, and EJB Bean client will access this or invoke the function implemented. Here we implemented it, right? So it will invoke this. This is the class, and which implements 2A, 2B. So we will invoke 2B here. And if you see here, stateless and local bean. So it's added by the UI itself, but what is important is JavaX EJB stateless. So that's what imported by the IDE. So when we write the code, that time you will see the package that will get imported. All right, so now we have 2 pieces of code ready, EJB Bean client and EJB Bean. Now let's go to the demo. So first we need to create the bean, right? First we need to create the bean, right? The bean name is Hello Bean. So I'm right clicking on the EJB Bean project, then I'm choosing new, and if you see we have a session bean. And if you see, the session bean comes under the EJB category. Now if you expand, you can see the other EJB components. So here we are choosing session bean EJB 3x, and if you see, there is no entity bean here. So since it is a 3x version, it lists session bean and message driven bean, also timer. Okay, so here for this example we need to create session bean. So I'm picking this and clicking next, and package. So this is the first time we are creating, right? So we provided a package name, tube, coding examples, EJB, session bean, and the class name we are giving it as a hello bean. So make sure the state type is stateless. So in the next example we will create stateful. For now we will go with stateless. Then we will ask for remote interface. So accept the default and click next. Here you will see the interface is tube, coding example, EJB, stateless bean, hello bean, remote. And if you see here, we specified the class name, and the remote interface name is automatically given by the Eclipse IDE, right? So here we provided the Java package name, and it creates hello bean remote under the same package name. But where will it place this hello bean remote, and where will it place the hello bean class? So all the stuff we will see once we click the finish button. All right, here we can provide a mapped name. So it is required for a reference annotation. Anyhow, in this tutorial we are not going to use the reference annotation. We will use it later. In this tutorial we will use the context object to create the remote bean. All right, I mean EJB bean. We will use context object to create the EJB bean. All right, so mapped name, we just provided it as a hello bean. Then here we are clicking finish. So we will remove some of the comments here. So this is the class we created, right? Public class hello bean, and mapped name, if you see, whatever we gave in the IDE, that is added here in the annotation. So the class hello bean is marked with a annotation stateless. So this informs the wildfly, so that's where we are going to deploy, right? That the class hello bean is a stateless session bean. All right, so where is this hello bean remote? And if you see, Eclipse automatically placed this under a different project, EJB bean client. So this is the project the external world will access, right? So interface is defined here in the EJB bean client.jar, which is implemented by the EJB bean.jar. So this is the implementation class, and this is the interface class. So if I double click here, and you can see the interface is defined here. And you can also notice that the annotation remote is added by the IDE. And here the annotation is stateless. And here the annotation is remote, just to say that this hello bean remote is a remote interface. javax.ejb.remote. All right, so now we will add our first piece of code. You can take this code from the video description. All the code snippets are available in the video description. That will direct you to the Google Drive link. From there you can copy paste the code, or you can hand code it. That means you can type yourself. So when you are copying the code from Google Drive, you can use Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, or you can download the document and later you can refer it. Alright, here we defined the say hello. The moment I saved it, since the interface is defined, which is already implemented by the EJB module, we see a error mark here. So expand it. The error mark is shown here. Expand it. Hello bean. Expand it, or double click to open it. Then place cursor here. It will say add unimplemented method. So once you click here, it will provide the definition string say hello. So this is where we have to add our next piece of code. So we added a code snippet 2, and which tells some, which returns some greeting message. So that's also we implemented a EJB bean. Now let us check this in the server. First, here we are starting the server. So our server is started. Next, right click here and choose add or remove program. So we already did this, right, in the previous video. Now we implemented EJB bean and EJB bean client. EJB web code is not yet added, but we just added code here. So we defined a bean called hello bean. Then we defined a method say hello, and the method declaration is provided here in the EJB bean client, and it is implemented here in the EJB bean project. And if you see, we are not deploying all this component one by one. Instead, when we created the project, that time itself we asked it to pack these 3 projects inside a single unit called EJB EAR. So that's how here we are just adding this EAR to deploy. So this will automatically deploy all 4 projects. EAR, which is a combination of a bean client and EJB web. So let me click finish here. All right, so here we are seeing the message deployed EJB EAR, and if you notice here, it deployed the EJB EAR, which is a combination of jar file and EJB bean. Now once you scroll down, you can see these are all the JNDI names, and we will use this fully qualified JNDI name to create the EJB bean. So in the servlet, we will use this reference, I mean this JNDI name, fully qualified JNDI name. So in Eclipse Neon and Wildfly, we cannot directly create a bean with a mapped name and this through the context object. So we need to give this a fully qualified name. But when we are using the annotation for EJB reference, that time we can use the mapped name. So that one we will use later. So for initial few videos, we will make use of this fully qualified name notation. All right, now we will go back to the slide. Before that, we will undeploy this. You can see it is undeployed, and here we are removing it. All right, now we will go back to the slide. Next, we will create a servlet which will act as a client code, which will make use of the bean and call the function which is exposed through the EJB client remote interface. Remote interface is defined inside the EJB client project, and here you can see how we are accessing or making use of the remote client project to access the function which is implemented in the EJB bean. So first we will create an initial context object. This is required to create the bean. So context object is here, and we are making use of context.lookup method. And in the lookup method, you can see we are making use of the JNDI name. This string, we grabbed it from the server console. So Java global EJB EAR, EJB bean. EAR is our EAR project, enterprise application project. Inside the enterprise application project, there is a compiled unit called EJB bean, and EJB bean defines a hello bean. But we are accessing this through tube coding example EJB stateless session bean hello bean remote, which is defined inside the client project. All right, so this will return an object, and we are typecasting it to hello bean remote. And if you see here, for this project, for the web application project, if we refer only the EJB client, that is enough. I mean, the EJB client project only we will refer, and the corresponding jar. So we will not refer the actual implementation file, right? The actual implementation file goes in EJB bean. EJB bean that defines a class and which implements the interface that is defined in the EJB client. So the web application is accessing only the EJB client, so it is not accessing the EJB bean. Here we are having everything under a single unit, but when it is a distributed application and if the servlet is in different machine, that machine won't have the actual implementation file. So it will have only the interface. Even if the accessing guy bypasses the code, they can only see the interface. They can't see the actual implementation. All right, let's won't go much detail there. Here, if you see, we are creating the hello bean remote, and the actual object created is hello bean, and which is pointed by the hello bean remote object. And here, if we resolve the type for hello bean remote, which is in client, that is enough. All right, next, if you say once we have the remote bean object in hand, we are making call to the method say hello. So that will return a string we know, and we are storing that string. Rest goes to the servlet, and so of course this is a do get or do post method. Here, if you see response.set content type text or HTML, we are getting the get writer. Then using the out object, we are making call to print, and we are printing this string. So that means in the browser session, you will see the return value of this say hello. So to quickly recap, we have a servlet, and this servlet is accessing the remote interface. Through remote interface, it instantiate an object, EJB bean object. Who will create this? So it is created by the container. The container is Wildfly. So once it sees the request, it will create the EJB bean object, hello bean object. Then the call here is say hello. So say hello will get called. So first an instance will be created and proxy will be given, and when we make a call, there is no parameter passed, but there is a return value, and the return value goes here. So this is what we are doing here. This is EJB client, and this one is EJB Bean project, and this one is our web application. So all these parts are defined inside the EAR project. So in this video tutorial, we will not create these projects again. Instead, we will start adding the beans inside this project. So this is a one-time setup for us, the project creation. So yeah, that's why we are not adding more complexity here. We just defined a say hello method. All right, now it's demo time. We will go and create the servlet. So here is our projects. EAR is just a packaging unit. We defined our bean and interface here, bean implementation here. Now we are going to the web application, and here we are creating new servlet. Okay, that's a package name, so we will cut that. So if you see here in the create servlet, we are defining a new package, and all our servlets will go inside this package on the EJB web. Class name here we are giving it as hello bean slet. Click next. We will accept the default. Click next. And here we need, so instead of post, we will implement it in do get, because there is no HTML here. Yeah, do get will serve the purpose. We can directly access this servlet, so we will go for do get and click finish here. So we will remove all the comments. So servlet creations are already explained in a different video series. And you can see the class is again marked by annotation web servlet and hello bean slet. So when URL has this string, then it will invoke this servlet. All right. So this is why we asked you should have some exposure to servlet. So if we dig in detail inside this servlet implementation, the video goes lengthy. So you can watch our servlet playlist to get good knowledge on the servlet. So as the code is already explained in the slide, I'm directly pasting it here. So initial context, if you see, it is from javax.naming. So we are importing it. Then hello bean remote. All right, so here we need to do one more work to resolve this type. Right click here, go to properties, click on deployment assembly, then click add here, choose project, click next, select EJB client, click on finish, apply. Okay. Now if I place my cursor, it will say, it gives this option, import Hello Bean remote from tube coding example EJB Stateless Session Bean. So this dependency is resolved. Next, print writer. This is from java.io package. So it's asking to surround this with a try catch. We'll do that. So both are naming exception only, right? So we will remove these. Okay, we will place everything inside this one single try catch. So this is not a good coding practice, but here, okay, if any exception occurs, we don't want to execute this code, so it still holds good. So that's all here. Now we can execute this. So the code is already explained in the slide. Now we will add the project EJB EAR. We will wait for the message deployed to occur. So it's deployed. We'll once again see, okay, this is the one we are using, right? Global Hello Bean remote. We'll check once. Yes. So this is the important line. It may fail many times if we make any mistake. That's why we are doing a copy paste from this console window. All right, now the application server as well as the EAR is in a synced state. Now expand the src. This is the servlet, right? Now we will run this servlet. So it may take some time. We will wait for it. So we saw our first welcome message. If you see here, this is our servlet and URL contains a Hello Bean servlet. So when we invoke this URL, it will invoke our servlet and the code comes here. Inside the servlet, doGet will get called, and here we are actually creating the the bean object, and we are referring the bean object, proxy object through the Hello Bean remote interface, and we added dependency also. After that, we are making call to say hello. The return value is the function return value is given to the print method of the print writer object. So that's all here. So this is just a servlet concept, and here we are invoking the EJB stuff. Now we will go here, we'll stop the EAR undeployed. Then we will remove this, stop the server. That's all. That's all here in this video. So now, just now you saw how we created a stateless session bean and how we accessed it through Servlet web client. Thank you for watching. Bye.